Welcome, Vikings. It's cold. It's dreary up in the snow biome on the mountains. Wind is blowing, snow is falling, and there are dangers about. Fernlings, wolves, snow golems. No, actually, no snow golems, stone golems. And this video is going to be how do you keep yourself warm, because there are a few ways out there that you can do that, ranging from the fairly simple to the little bit more involved. So what I will be going through is a few ways to do that, basically starting with, well, having a nice warm fire, which is the simplest way. However, it doesn't really travel with you. You can't move around with it, which means you're sort of stuck in one location. Then we get to the frost resistant mead, which is really good because it's fairly easy to craft after you've been to the swamp. At least it will give you some limited frost and cold resistance. Beyond that, we go on to the armor and the cape, where we have the wolf fur cape and of course the wolf chest armor. Both are really good once you've actually gone to the snow and you gather the material. Lastly, and this is something that you might end up doing later on, is that when you find the lox and you kill a bunch of those, you end up with some nice pelts that you can craft into a LOX Cape as well, which will also keep you warm in the snow biome. Now that's in the plains, so you might not go there before you've hit snow biome, but in case you do, or later on when you actually craft the cape, you can just use it even in the snow biome. So I'm currently wearing both the wolf fur cape and the wolf armor chest, so I'm going to take them off and you'll see that I will start freezing as soon as I do. And yes, you'll see I'm taking damage, and of course I can't regenerate and everything, and that's obviously not what you want to have. But if I start turning on this fire, at least now I'm only cold, which does mean that you might suffer some slower or lower health and stamina regeneration, but at least you're not going to be frozen, which means you're not going to take the damage. Of course, it looks kind of dumb. And this is really the easiest way, but it means that if you move away from it, you will no longer have that buff, which means it's not necessarily the way to go. And of course, if you have a nice little building up here, you can always have your hearth here and just keep warm through that as well. Not that convenient, except maybe at nighttime when you go home and sleep. Well, let's look at the second way of doing it. This is something that I always do before I go to the snow, is that you make sure you have a fermenter. You have to build a fermenter, which is fairly simple once you've unlocked it. It requires some fine wood, bronze, resin. Of course, it has to be nearby the forge. But once you have that one, let's go out of that, you go to your cauldron and you'll see you'll probably unlocked a bunch of things, and one of them will be the mead-based frost resistance, which requires honey, thistle, blood bag, and of course you get that from the leeches in the swamp, and some gray dwarf eye, which of course you get in the black forest or possibly in the meadow. So let me grab a bunch of these things and we go back to the cooking pot here, and now I can craft it. It's fairly fast to do. The requirements are not too high because you get a bunch of them. So once you have it, and you'll see it there. No, that's not the one. This is the one. It needs to be fermented. It's just a mead base. It does require fermenting, and that's where you have the fermenter. You simply hit E, and it will add the items, and you'll see fermenter, mead base, frost resistant, fermenting. And eventually this one is going to finish. I'm not going to wait. It takes like a couple of days or something to do that. It will finish fermenting. You hit E and it'll pop out a bunch of the frost resistant meat. And the nice thing about these ones is that, well, you can carry them with you. They do work for 10 minutes and they will keep you from being cold or frozen. It says you're protected against the cold. So it's really, really good, because it means that you can go up into the snow biome without being cold or frozen. Super useful. However, it only lasts for 10 minutes, and while that's quite a long time to be exploring the snow biome, oh, actually I can see all the way up to my nice little bonfire, it's not necessarily something you want to have continually, because you have to keep on crafting this mead bases. You have to ferment it, and you have to make sure you bring it, because, well, it's going to take one of your slots as well in your inventory, which is just a little bit annoying, at least to me. And it takes weight, which of course is something that we always want to have more of. So if we don't want to keep drinking that meat, even though it is tasty, well, what do we do? Well, the first thing actually is gather enough to craft the wolf fur cape. Now you need the wolf pelt, you need the silver, you need a wolf trophy, and the wolf trophy can be a little bit tricky to get because you need to kill a bunch of wolves. But once you've gotten that, let me pick up this one, you can craft it, And it looks awesome as well. I'm really glad that they have these different pelts as well. You just equip it. And look at it. Look at how nice it looks. I mean, you see that wolf on the side as well. Ooh, very nice. And if we read on it, it says, wolf are natural survivors. This one was just unlucky. Yes, it was. Now its pelt will warm you in the snow, which is perfect, and has a resistance versus frost. So this one is enough to keep you warm. So what if you don't find the trophy for a while? Well, that's where you actually can craft the wolf armor, and it's a chest, specifically the wolf armor chest, which says it's a wolfskin jerkin, warm and wild looking. It protects against the cold, which is just like the other one. Damage modifier, resistant versus frost. Now this one just requires silver, wolf pelt, and chain, and chains of course you find in the swamp biome. Once you grab that one, simply craft it, and you will have a really nice, cool looking armor as well. And it gives fairly good armor, 20 as its base. So let's see if I just zoom out a little bit here. Let me equip it and put it on. Look at how, okay, I'm a little bit, there we go. Look at how nice that one looks. Nice and shiny. Of course, it is silverish, which of course is why it's, well, shiny. And together with the pelt, the cape, it looks, I think it looks really, really good. As I mentioned, if you have the luck of finding some LOX and actually killing them without dying, you can actually make a cape out of the LOX fur as well. And that's done in the workbench like all the capes. You do need the LOX pelt, 6 of them, and some silver. And that one also looks really good. Of course, it's a slightly different look than the white wolf pelt. I'm not going to say it's necessarily better. It looks a little bit more high style. I'm glad they didn't just make it in brown, even though I kind of personally like the look of the white wolf fur cape actually instead of that one. But you know, they're both really cool. This one has the really cool feature of having the wolf head there because of the trophy. So personally, this is probably my favorite, even though this one looks really good as well. And this one will also give you resistance versus frost. I'm currently up here on the mountain, and I do still have the frost resistant mead, so I'm going to unequip my armor and my cape here. Just so you can see that the frost resistant mead works just fine. Standing out here half naked, but as long as you have some mead in you, well, you know, that's how the old Vikings did it. They drank a lot of mead. Now you have to be a little bit careful of doing that because there are wolves around, and without proper armor, well, your life expectancy can be fairly short. Now I'm going to count down. The mead is going to finish soon, and we should be hit by the cold as it expires because, well, we're not really wearing any clothes here. Well, except pants, of course. We are having a shield, but that one doesn't shield very much. So now I'm freezing. So as you can see, I'm taking that damage, and that's of course not what you want to have. If I put on, let's start with the wolf armor chest, put that on, you'll see I no longer have the freezing. So let's take that off. We'll start freezing again. Yep. And then let's start with the wolf fur cape. You'll see just this one is equally good. It will remove that freezing debuff. Remove it, and we're going to do the LOX Cape. We're freezing, taking a little bit of damage, and put on that cape, and that's enough as well to keep us warm. So either one really works, and of course later on you probably want to have the wolf armor chest and one of the capes anyway, but it means that you no longer have to confine yourself to around a nice warm campfire, nor do you have to keep drinking the frost resistant mead. So it's really good for just exploring around the snow biome, even just in and out and everything. You don't have to worry about carrying around the mead. But that's how easy it is to keep warm. Campfire, nice roaring fire will be good. Some mead, frost resistant mead, or just make the wolf fur cape, the LOX cape, or the wolf chest armor. Either one will keep you alive from the horrible biting cold in the snow biome. If you enjoyed this little guide, why not have a look at the playlist at the top of the description? I got a bunch of other Valheim guides and tutorials in there. And why not hit like for the video and maybe subscribe to the channel and check out some more on my next video. Take care, Viking. Stay safe from the cold, and of course the wolves, and the stone golems, and the fernlings, but those only come out at night, under the moon. See you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the Vedui community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.